The night Olivia Carter said yes to me, my hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped the coffee I'd bought just to calm my nerves. I had imagined that moment 100 different ways, her smiling softly, maybe even tearing up, maybe telling me she had been waiting for me to ask. But when she said yes, her eyes didn't sparkle the way I had dreamed. They looked tired. Hesitant. Almost grateful. And I didn't understand why. Before we go any further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet miracles that happen when we least expect them, take a second right now to like this video, comment where you're watching from, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel. You never know whose heart might need this story today. I'm Nathan Brooks, and this happened in a small town just outside of Columbus, Ohio. I was 22 at the time, working part-time at a hardware store while finishing my last year at Ohio State. My life was simple. Predictable. Safe. And then there was Olivia. She worked at the bookstore across the street. The first time I saw her, she was standing on a small ladder, rearranging novels on the top shelf. A strand of chestnut hair kept falling into her face, and she'd blow it away impatiently before tucking it behind her ear. She looked like someone who carried storms inside her but still chose to smile at strangers. For months, I admired her from a distance. I would find excuses to walk into the bookstore, pretending to browse while stealing glances at her. She always greeted me warmly. We talked about books, about music, about how she hated Ohio winters and how I secretly loved them. Slowly, our conversations grew longer. More personal. She told me about growing up in Michigan. I told her about my mom raising me alone after my dad left. But there was always something in her eyes, like she was holding back a piece of herself. I learned from a mutual friend, Caleb, that Olivia had been dating someone named Tyler. Their relationship wasn't exactly a secret, but it wasn't something she talked about either. From what I heard, it was complicated. On again, off again. The kind of love that looks passionate on the outside but feels exhausting on the inside. Still, I stayed in my lane. I told myself she was happy. That I was just a friend. Then one rainy Thursday evening, everything shifted. I walked into the bookstore to find Olivia sitting behind the counter, staring blankly at the wall. The shop was empty. The soft hum of the heater filled the silence. Her eyes were red, and her mascara was slightly smudged. My chest tightened. She tried to smile when she saw me, but it didn't reach her eyes. I didn't push her to explain. I just stayed. I helped her close up early. We walked out together into the cold Ohio air, the streetlights reflecting off the wet pavement. That was when she finally told me Tyler had left again. Not just walked away from the relationship, he had packed up and moved to another state without even saying goodbye properly. The anger I felt surprised me. Not because I hated Tyler. But because someone had made her feel disposable. Over the next few weeks, I became her constant. Coffee runs before her shifts. Late-night phone calls when her thoughts got too loud. Study sessions that turned into quiet moments of comfort. I told myself I was just being a good friend. But every time she leaned her head on my shoulder or laughed at something dumb I said, my heart betrayed me. One night in early spring, with the scent of blooming trees drifting through the air, I finally gathered the courage. We were sitting on a bench in Goodale Park, watching the city lights flicker in the distance. My pulse was racing so loudly I was sure she could hear it. I told her everything. How I had liked her from the beginning. How she made ordinary days feel extraordinary. How I didn't want to just be the guy she leaned on when things fell apart. I wanted to be the one who stayed. She looked at me for a long time. The silence felt endless. And then she said yes. But it wasn't the joyful yes I had imagined. It was soft. Careful. Almost fragile. For the first few weeks, I ignored the feeling in my gut. We went on dates. We walked through the short north on warm evenings, shared milkshakes at an old diner, and watched movies tangled up on her couch. To anyone watching, we were just a new couple finding their rhythm. But sometimes, I would catch her staring into space. Or she would flinch when her phone buzzed. Once, I saw Tyler's name flash across her screen before she quickly silenced it. That's when the truth started to settle in. She hadn't said yes because she was deeply in love with me. She said yes because she felt safe. Because I was steady. Because I was kind. Because I didn't leave. And part of me wondered if I was just a bandage on a wound that hadn't healed. It hurt more than I expected. I questioned everything. Was I enough? Was I just convenient? I started pulling back, afraid of being the rebound. Afraid of loving someone who was still haunted by someone else. One evening, after I canceled plans for the second time that week, Olivia showed up at my apartment unannounced. Her eyes weren't tired anymore. They were determined. She told me she knew she hadn't been fully present. She admitted she had said yes partly because she was scared of being alone. But she also said something that shifted everything. She said that in the quiet moments, when there was no distraction, no heartbreak echoing in her mind, she found herself thinking about me. Not Tyler. Me. The way I listened. The way I made her feel seen. The way I never made her prove her worth. She said love didn't always arrive like fireworks. Sometimes it arrived like sunrise, slow, steady, undeniable. That night, I realized something too. I had been so focused on being chosen for the right reason that I forgot something important. Love isn't about perfect timing. It's about growth. It's about two imperfect people deciding to heal, together. We didn't magically fix everything. There were hard conversations. There were days when insecurity crept in. But we faced them honestly. She blocked Tyler. She started therapy. I learned to voice my fears instead of burying them. Months later, sitting on that same bench in Goodale Park, she looked at me with a certainty I had never seen before. This time, her yes wasn't fragile. It was full. And I understood that sometimes the reason someone says yes at first isn't the final reason they stay. If this story touched your heart even a little, if you've ever loved someone through their healing or been loved when you felt broken, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs encouragement, and subscribe for more stories that remind us what real love looks like. And before this story ends, I want to ask you something special. Comment the word sunrise below if you believe love can grow stronger with time. Because in the end, I didn't just get a yes. I got a chance to prove that steady love, patient love, imperfect love, can become the kind that lasts.